noche sudando la gota, salimos a matar, no queremos derrota. Vamos a levantar la copa. This is football.
Sorry about that technical difficulty. Solana with you here on a Wednesday night on This is Football. Once again, thank you for joining us, and don't forget to follow us and subscribe at TI Football Podcast. That's TIFUTBOLPODCAST. I am very, very good at spelling things, as you can see. We have a big show for you tonight. An Inter Miami big win, missing their star, Lionel Messi, and their other stars were present. So that was a big, big win for the team and a big, big weekend for Leonardo Campana. And we're going to get into a little bit of Inter Miami, like I said. We'll look at the standings as Inter Miami climbs up and other teams seem to be faltering. Those that we need them to falter, like a DC United, like a Chicago, like a couple other teams that are ahead of us. We'll look at that. We'll take a look at some power rankings. I want to analyze a little bit about the Inter Miami internationals, also the Atlanta United internationals that played this weekend. We'll take a look at some of their numbers as they also had some of their players who participated in some international action this weekend. And we'll also have a guest on at around 9:20. We will have a guest on. We'll have my brother Alejandro Solana, who is producer of the Hawk and Crowder show on 560 WQAM, as well as the Miami Heat pregame and postgame host. Also does some work for the Dolphins as well. Definitely follow him at Alex M. Solana. He'll be on here in about 15, 20 minutes to talk some we'll save eliminatorias for Alex, and we'll talk a little bit Inter Miami now, since I see folks in the comments here talking about Farias being better than Fabian O'Neill. I don't know about that, Justi. You definitely didn't see Fabian O'Neill and his cañitos. We have Abhishek Jose asking here, Messi not playing against Atlanta. We're gonna get into that. We have some inside information on whether he's gonna play or not. Stevie says Messi faked an injury to play this Saturday. I don't think it was that, Stevie. I think, and I announced it. I tweeted it, over a week ago, saying, I didn't think that Messi would travel to Bolivia. Obviously, overlooking the fact that Messi is a captain of the Argentina national team. That was probably stupid on me to say, just because the captain is never going to leave his ship behind. So Messi was always going to go to Bolivia. So that's my bad. But he didn't end up playing. Like I said, I didn't think he would play in Bolivia. I thought it was a waste of his energy to go up into the altitude, the 16,000 feet that they play in La Paz. It's roughly 9 miles. For those of you who haven't done the calculation, I did the calculation yesterday myself, and I thought that's absolutely crazy. I know some of you who are in the chat, Jonah, Socio, Stevie, you've played in altitude. I've played in Denver, which is only a mile high. And I remember, I would play 15, 20 minutes and I'd have to, ask for a sub. So much less 9 miles high. I mean, no way Messi was going to play that game. I mean, the only way he would have played that game is if maybe Argentina would have lost against Ecuador, but securing those 3 points at home, I didn't think that there was any way he was going to play. So Messi is well rested for the game this weekend against Atlanta United. And let's go into, the Inter Miami internationals here. I'm going to throw up, something up on the screen there, and we'll go through it. So, here's the action of the Inter Miami internationals over this international break. Drake Callender, as you all know, he played for Inter Miami on their win on Saturdays, and he didn't feature in the game yesterday for the United States over their win over Oman. That was let's not even talk about that. Sergei Kristov played in both games. He played 45 minutes in Ukraine's game against England, and then played the full 90 against somebody said a stout Italian team. I wouldn't call it a stout Italian team. But nevertheless, he did play 90 minutes against Italy, and that's good. Like I said, Lionel Messi, he played 89 minutes against Ecuador, and he got that goal. That now we are used to seeing here in Miami. That free kick goal right outside the box in the 70-something minute, and he gave Argentina those 3 points. Benjamin Kramashi, our pride and joy down here, the Key Biscayne boy. He did not feature in the first game against Uzbekistan for the United States. I was very vocal about that. Why take a kid to the camp why cap a kid if you're not going to play him against these teams like Uzbekistan and Oman? Finally, yesterday he did come on for the United States and made his United States debut. He played about 19 minutes. He had what we'll call a hockey assist, I guess, because he did give that pass on the own goal that the right winger, I believe his name is Kevin, maybe Kevin Delgado, but he scored a center, and it was an own goal, and Benjamin gave him that pass. So we'll call it a hockey assist. Way to go, buddy. That's awesome. David Ruiz played in one of the 2 games. He had 19 minutes for Honduras, making his Honduras debut as he played 19 minutes against Granada. Joseph played both games. He had 31 minutes against Colombia, 54 against Paraguay. As we all know, Diego Gomez played that first game against Peru, and then he was injured on practice on Saturday. It looks like he has some sort of a muscle pull. Alvaro Yusti here asks, what's the altitude at Canchita KSP2? I can tell you, KSP2 is definitely lower than KSP1. Socio, Uruguay is lucky Ecuador didn't take Campana. I can't disagree with you, considering the way that I saw that Ener Valencia played, and he missed that penalty yesterday. Who's to say that maybe Campana, wouldn't have put away some more of those centers. But let's get back to, the Inter Miami International. So Robert Taylor played in both games. He had 6 minutes against Kazakhstan and 5 minutes against Denmark for Finland. And Eddie Ascona also played 2 games for the Dominican Republic. He featured as a substitute against Nicaragua, logging around 26 minutes. And then he was a starter against Montserrat, and then was pulled off at 61 minutes. So that is your Inter Miami International roundup for this window. Look, Messi got some much needed rest. He's already in Miami. He was back in Miami last night. I believe he should have been at the trading center today. He should be ready to play on Saturday. That's what everybody's asking. Is Messi gonna play on Saturday? And I mean, your guess is as good as mine. I mean, he said, that he doesn't care about the turf. He said that at his press conference. They asked about it. They asked him, are you going to play on turf? He says, no, I'm not scared of turf. I used to play on turf all the time. When I was a kid at La Masia in the academy, that's what we trained on all the time. And, Socio here is asking, they played last night, and he's at training today. Yeah, Socio, he didn't play. He left, right after the game and came right to Miami. So it's possible that he was at training today. I wasn't able to speak to the folks who attended, the training center today, but it's possible that he was at practice. Like I said, is he going to play on Sunday? My idea, my guess is yes, he's going to play. How much? I don't know. Other than the, LAFC away game, we know that he came on as a substitute in the New York Red Bulls game. He came on as a substitute, and that I think is my guess. I think he'll probably come on as a substitute, and Inter Miami will probably, start a similar lineup to what they started this last Saturday, with maybe Farias heading the midfield there, and welcoming some of the young guys back. You could see, a Ben Kakaremashi get the start. You might see a Robbie Taylor get the start over a Robbie Robinson. So, you know, it's yeah, Messi ain't got a PJ. Yeah, he does, buddy. Messi does have a private jet. If you don't remember, during the eliminatorias, during COVID, he was giving some of the players, some of his Argentinian teammates rides, and also the Uruguayan teammates rides from those that were based in Spain. He was giving them rides over to Argentina and Uruguay for the eliminatoria. So Messi does have that private jet. He ain't slack. Um, so again, is Messi going to play on Saturday? My guess is yes, he's going to play. Is he going to start? We'll see. We will see. Over the next couple of days, what Tata Martino has to say. Like I said, if it were my guess, no, he's not going to start. I think Inter Miami will start a similar lineup like they did on the prior Saturday. Tata Martino will play it by ear, and we'll see how many minutes Messi gets. If Inter Miami puts two in the back of the net, in the first 10, 20 minutes, maybe you don't even see a Messi. And that'll suck. That'll really suck for those Atlanta United fans. I don't know how much the tickets are going for the game. I'm going to look it up right now because I'm actually pretty curious what tickets are going for this Inter Miami game against Atlanta United. I assume that the Mercedes-Benz Dome is going to be opened up to full capacity, which is, if I'm not mistaken, around 80,000 people. So if that's the case, it's a lot of people. I'm looking it up right now, on Ticketmaster, what the cheapest ticket is. Let's see. The cheapest ticket right now is actually $109. That's actually not bad. You're sitting in like a corner end zone, if that's what you want to call it, row 19. So $109, you add the fees, you add the things, you're looking at maybe like $159 a ticket, which is actually not bad considering, in Miami, the cheapest ticket for a home game, you're looking at 200 plus. So, 150 to possibly see 35 plus minutes of Messi is actually not that bad. If you wanted something like in a lower bowl, you're going to be looking at spending something north of $250, $200. That's what it looks like to me. In the lower bowl, it's going to cost you $200. There's nothing for sale in the Atlanta United supporters section, which is freaking awesome. I think that is absolutely fucking awesome that there's nothing for sale in the Atlanta United supporters section because, Inter Miami home games, there are, tickets for sale in the Inter Miami supporters section. I don't think that should be allowed. I don't think if you're an Inter Miami supporter and you buy a ticket, in that grandstand, I don't think you should be allowed to sell your ticket. I think you should be allowed to transfer your ticket to somebody, but you shouldn't be allowed to sell it, to just to a random person. I just don't think that should be the case. So let's take a look a little. We looked at the Inter Miami's international players. Let's take a look a little bit at Atlanta United. So Atlanta United had four guys that are six or seven players that played in the international window. Miles Robinson, who was capped by the United States, he played the full 90 yesterday against Oman in that win. Thiago Almada, who was capped by Argentina, did not feature in either game, either against Ecuador or Bolivia. Saba Lobjanidze, who was capped by Georgia, he played one game in 45 minutes against Spain. Their Greek forward, Georgios Giacomakis, he played in both of their games, although he did play some minor minutes, 17 against the Netherlands, 22 against Gibraltar. Luis Abraham is the one who played the most minutes for their internationals. He played both games for Peru, 90 against Paraguay, 90 against Brazil, a tie against, of course, Peru against Paraguay, and a loss 1-0 against Brazil last night. And then Derek Etienne Jr., man, isn't he a running back too? Derek Etienne Jr., who was capped by Haiti, featured in one game against Cuba where he played 87 minutes. So, Inter Miami has more internationals that were capped. They're coming back with an injury to Diego Gomez, which we're not sure. It could be, 3 weeks, 6 weeks. Who knows? We're going to see, once he comes back and he's evaluated, how long it's going to be. Hamstrings are kind of tough, but, hopefully, I don't know. these guys in the chat are talking about, you're getting paid for a fan engagement through the chat. Hey, I think Stevie, I think that's fantastic. Unfortunately, we don't have any money, man. We don't have any money, so we're looking at different ways of bringing in money, maybe selling some merchandise, just doing a lot of stuff. But I like that, man. Solana does, no, I don't, it really it is everybody's show. Socio couldn't get here because, we moved the show from yesterday to today. Socio's days is Tuesdays. We know that, Socio has to work on Wednesdays. Nico couldn't make it tonight. It's his little boy's birthday. Happy birthday to Milan. Happy birthday to Caro. A special shout out to my son who asked me to shout him out. Matias, I love you, buddy. It's not a one-man show, guys. You guys in the chat, it's not a one-man show. Everybody participates. Even though Renier, you don't see his face, he participates. He sent me a bunch of those stats that you guys saw there on all the players. All that came from him. I don't have time to do everything by myself. So, shout out to the rest of the TIFF crew who couldn't make it. It is what it is, man. We do what we do. We can get on when we can get on. And it is what it is. Let's take a look at some MLS power rankings, man. Let's take a look at some MLS power rankings. Now that Inter Miami, put another 3 points on the board. And first of all, bro, what the hell is that guy doing on my fucking screen right now? What the hell? Seriously, that is gross. Anyways, all right. So Cincinnati's still at the top at 1. Inter Miami at 2. No movement. Philadelphia at 3. St. Louis moves up to 4. Columbus moves down to 5. Orlando, that Mickey Mouse Club up there in Central Florida, moves down to 6. I saw something about them. I'm going to talk about it shortly here. I want to bring it up. I want you guys in the chat, in the comments to mention what you think about this. But I think it's absolutely it's a disgrace. It's atrocious, and let's talk about it in a second. So Houston moves up to 7. I believe that's why Ache is up there. LAFC drops to 8, and Seattle and Houston round out your MLS top 10 power rankings. So I want to get into something that I read a tweet about, and then I think it's absolutely despicable. So I read that the MLS wrote a special letter or a special memo to the Ruckus Orlando City, I guess, barra or fan base or supporters group. And, bro, apparently the MLS wrote to them and told them to not be mean to Messi. Inter Miami visits Orlando City, a couple weeks from now. And to be 100% honestly, like, what the fuck is that? Like, seriously, what in the hell? Like, did the MLS really do that? And I saw somebody tweeting like, oh, who said that? Or where is that? Well, and they said Ruckus, and Ruckus is a supporters group from Orlando City. I mean, hey, I'm calling Ruckus out. Come on the show. Let's talk about it. If they really did send you that, I want to see the notice. Let's talk about it on our show. So I'm calling out the leader of Ruckus. We can post this out there. I want you to come on This Is Football. I want to talk about this. I want to really, really see the letter. I want to know what it is that Garber sent. I mean, that's complete bullshit if that's really what happened. But whatever. It is what it is. I want to talk about it. Stevie says that Garber sent out the notice. I don't know. I haven't seen anything, Stevie. G says, they better leak that letter. I agree with you. That's why I'm giving them a wide open platform. Like I said, this is not an Inter Miami podcast. This is just a podcast amongst a bunch of friends who like to talk about football. So we have nothing going on. Like Stevie says, it's a public service announcement. I'm welcoming the Orlando City fan base. Anybody who has that letter or wants to talk about it or just wants to go off, come on this show, talk about it with us. Absolutely. We'll put it on there and let's do it. Let's get it out there. All right, let's get into the tables just after we got into the MLS power rankings. Let me get a sip of water here, boys. I'm doing a lot of talking. And I'm always about that club soda and those lemon lemon flavored, thins. You guys know that. So always club soda and lemon flavored Oreo thins. So let's take a look at the Western Conference standings. St. Louis continues to stay atop of the West like they have almost all season. They've been absolutely almost unstoppable. Seattle at 2, LAFC at 3, Real Salt Lake, our boys over there, our wonderful followers over at Real Salt Lake, our boy L. They're 4, Houston at 5, Vancouver at 6, Minnesota at 7. Our boy, the coach over there, Lucci, has San Jose at 8. And rounding out the playoff spot at 9, Dallas right there. Austin, a huge upset, although they're only 1 point out of the playoff race. But a huge upset, as if you don't forget, if some of you who watch this don't forget, a lot of people picked Austin to win it all. If I remember correctly, I think Ever picked Austin to win the West. A couple other folks picked Austin to win the West. Sorry, boys. Doesn't look like it's going to happen. But they do have a chance to sneak into the playoffs. Let's take a look at the East. Cincinnati has clinched the playoff spot. Cincinnati has been at the top of the entire league, almost the entire year. New England Revolution. We're going to get into that. New England Revolution going through a big disaster. It looks like Nate the Great from, and I tweeted, it looks like Nate the Great from Ted Lasso is snaking Bruce Arena over there. Richie Williams, what are you doing, my friend? What are you doing? Because Bruce Arena has resigned. Showery Joseph and another assistant are out of New England as well. They have now a new interim coach today. They're second in 2 or 3 days. They're an absolute disaster. Mickey Mouse is in 3rd. Philadelphia's in 4th. Columbus with my boy and the comeback kid, Diego Rossi, right there in the 5th position. Atlanta United, the big rival this weekend, in the 6th. Nashville with our boy Fafa Picoult at 7. Montreal at 8. DC United, we need you to lose, boys, at 9. And the 4 above us, Chicago, who we play in a couple, I believe in a week. Charlotte, who we play twice in a month. NYCFC, who we play, I believe, in 10 days. We need you guys to lose. We need all of you to lose. And New York Red Bulls, nobody likes you. Nobody goes to watch you. When Inter Miami went to East Rutherford, the entire stadium was pink. You should be ashamed of yourselves. That rounds up both the Western and the Eastern Conference standings. Don't forget that over the last 3 MLS regular seasons, like we've been reminding you, the 9th place team in each conference has averaged points. So if you look at that and you're an Inter Miami fan, Inter Miami currently has 28 points. If they need 43, that means they need 15 points in their last 8 games. That means they need to win 5 of their next 8 games. Let's take a look at what those games are. Those games, well, we know we've got, like I said, Atlanta United on the artificial turf, 5 p.m. Saturday. If you're not going to be at La Tropical in Wynwood, you're not going to be anywhere. Socio and myself have a table along with a few other TIFF folks. My wife, my son will be out there. Come out there, meet us. We'll have some TIFF shirts to give away that I found in a box at someone's house. Socio, I got one for you, buddy. G, one's coming for you too, because I found a box with a lot of stuff. Anyways, so for those of you who are going to go watch the Inter Miami game, it is away. It is at Mercedes-Benz. Come out to La Tropical. TIF, This is Football. We'll be out there. Like I said, Socio and myself, we got a table. I believe we got a table for 8, Socio. And we'll be out there. We'll have some beer. We'll have a lot of stuff going on. I'll be at the Wednesday game next Wednesday against Toronto FC. I will be taking my wife to watch Leo Messi for the first time. It'll be her first time watching Leo Messi. I'm super excited about that. I'll be out there. We'll be out there early. She'll be my camera woman that day. We'll get some interview with the Messias. We'll be back to be at Dry Pig Stadium since it's been about a month since I've been there, so I'll be back to be out there talking to La Familia, talking to the folks in the Green Lock Gang. We'll see if we can make some friends. Haven't been too successful in that, but we're gonna continue to make friends. We have Mickey Mouse FC on September 24th, like I said, away. We'll see if we can get one of Ruckus out there on the show. We want to see that letter. Are you guys gonna be nice to Messi? That's the wackest thing I've ever heard. I mean, literally, please spit it on all of our players. I mean, like just be fans, bro. Just be fans. Like, I'm not condoning violence. I'm not condoning, to be rude or anything, but just be normal fans. Don't, like, what the hell is a letter to be nice to people? Like, whatever. All right. Then there's an away game against NYCF, or sorry, there's a home game against NYCFC where we get to see a couple of my Uruguayan boys and a couple of the Argentinian boys on that team. Then there's an away game against one of those direct rivals, like I said, Chicago Fire, a home game against the league leaders, which I hope at that point will have clinched at least the first or second spot, and they'll be resting some folks. And hopefully Inter Miami can get a win there. And then they wrap up the season with a home and away, with Charlotte FC. That last game on October 21st at 6 p.m. being on the Charlotte FC turf. We will see if they can make the playoffs again. The TIFF chat has been going crazy. The TIFF chat is nuts. I still say they're going to clinch. Socio says nope. Nico says nope, but it's looking more likely. Renier says nope. Everybody says nope. I'm the only one on the bandwagon. I see somebody else who might be on the bandwagon finally joining the show. I'm going to bring him on. Like I said, he's the producer of Hawk and Crowder over on 560 WQAM, also hosts the Miami Heat pregame and postgame show, also hosts the pregame show for the Miami Dolphins. I'm running out of breath talking about all the things this guy does. He's also my brother. I appreciate him filling in on late notice because none of my friends wanted to join me tonight other than Nico, who gets a pass, and Socio, who gets a pass because he had to work. So thank you, my brother, for joining me. Welcome to This is Football. Like always, it's always a pleasure to have you on.
Brought in the other Solana, huh?
Yeah, bro. I needed some views, bro. I don't get enough views by myself, so
I don't know.
Bring you in.
I don't know. I'm getting you views, but what's going on here? They don't. Socio and Nico, all of TIFF doesn't think Inter is going to make the playoffs. Catch me up here.
No, man. Yeah. So, big catch up. So Socio's working. It's Nico's son's first birthday, Milan's birthday, and it's also his wife's birthday. So happy birthday to them.
Happy birthday.
Renier works all the time, and they don't let him come on the podcast. Sebas in Argentina, and he doesn't, he can't join. Eved was kicked out of, got a red card this Sunday in the Red Force Uruguay, or sorry, FC Kendall game. So I guess he didn't want to come on. So
no, I meant
that's the rundown.
No, I meant thank you. No, I meant catch me up on why they don't think Inter Miami is going to make the playoffs. They're what? They have a game in hand over DC, right? They're only 6-7 points, you would know, back of the playoff line, at least in that line to have a chance to get into the playoffs. There we go.
Yep, there you
go. There's 7 games left, 8 games left, including Saturday.
So there's six points back in DC. Yeah. And they've got 2 games in hand of DC, so they've got 8 total games. But they're just saying, the schedule is not favorable, and they just don't think that Inter Miami has the wherewithal or the depth to just to make it. It's just a lot of points to recover, and they just don't think that they can make it. Like, I put the schedule up there, and I'll give you a chance to look at it, and you can give me your opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and do win-loss. I mean,
absolutely not.
But I will play the averages. I will play trends. They haven't lost yet since Messi joined. And I know most of those games were Leagues Cup, but they drew 1 game where they didn't play very well, but it also happened to be like their 9th game in 3 weeks or whatever it was. I think they're going to make it. I don't get the pessimistic view about them not making the playoffs. Saturday, I'm hoping Messi plays. I'm sure we'll get into that. But didn't they just prove against Sporting KC that even when Messi doesn't play, and even without playing, their best game, because I don't think on Saturday they necessarily played their best game. I think they played okay overall. That they're able to overcome the challenge of not having Leo Messi there, and
Yeah.
I think they also prove that missing a couple key players, missing a couple of the new additions as well. That with Busquets and with Alba, at least they have that core there that can maintain the quality of play that they're trying to play. I know you were praising Tata Martino in that win for kind of proving that, hey, he doesn't need the greatest player of all time to continue to have success in the MLS. I mean, he's done it already in the MLS, but to do it again here without Messi, I don't know. I thought that kind of proves something, that this team, whether they were as bad as they were prior to Messi and being in the hole that they are in right now, or that they've already kind of dug themselves out of a bit. You look at the standings right now, and I don't think it's indicative of where Inter Miami actually is compared to some of the teams quality-wise that are ahead of them beneath the playoff line.
Absolutely. And it also favors you.
They're 6 points back. I know they have a couple games in hand, but so do a couple of the other teams as well, whether it's one or two. You're telling me in, 8 games that they have remaining in MLS, not including the U.S. Open Cup final,
right,
that they can't go, 5 wins. That gets them in. 6 wins gets them
5
in.
wins.
They
5
haven't
of
lost
8
yet. So I'm genuinely confused as to why, if they only had 4 games left and they were 6 points back, then I get it, right? The amount of games that Messi's had to play, the amount of games that this entire new core has had to play, being in that hole would be extremely difficult. But they have 8 games remaining in MLS play, and they've been, without a doubt, like without any sort of doubt, they've been far and wide the best team, obviously, with the talent that they've brought in. And it hasn't just been Messi. I mean, you're seeing the quality from everybody that they've brought in. So I don't get that at all.
Me neither. And the best part is that other than Toronto FC, who's in dead last now in the East, I mean, you're playing direct rivals. You play NYCFC, who's above you. You play Chicago, who's right above you. You play Charlotte on back-to-back games, who's, just in the thick of things in there as well. You have a game against Orlando City FC away, which, could be tough. It's a somewhat classical. And then, you have Atlanta United this weekend. I mean, you're talking about direct rivals. You beat them, and it's +3 for you, -3 for them, essentially. And especially Chicago, NYCFC. I mean, those are the 2 most direct rivals that are in there. And then, you have to hope for a few things to go your way. But I mean, I think Inter Miami's proven, and like I've said, Tata Martino is he's unbeaten, he's 12 or won 12 of 13 games as a coach at Inter Miami, and he hasn't lost the last 12 games. Inter Miami was missing 8 players last game, 8 players of which most of them are key players, substitutes. David Ruiz, key substitute.
Right.
Benka Karemashi has been, a stud ever since Messi's arrival. I mean, he's just clicked with Messi. I don't know what, he could possibly be called to the Argentinian national team. You never know. Robert Taylor, who has also shown that he's clicked with Messi. You had to have Robbie Robinson start, who hasn't gotten a lot of minutes lately. So you have these key players who missed this game, and they still found a way to win. I mean, you have to praise Campana, who was snubbed by Ecuador, and I think he was playing with a little chip on his shoulder that he was snubbed by Ecuador, and you really got to praise him. And he was named MLS Player of the Week. How about that?
Yeah, and even the chip on his shoulder, despite Ecuador not calling him, perhaps a chip on his shoulder that, he was one of the bigger signings prior to the colossal signings that ensued with him being here. And he almost became an afterthought, right? For the first couple games in Leagues Cup, it's Josef Martinez starting alongside Leo Messi. Remember, they have that combination play. I think it was in the second or third game that Messi started. That was all over SportsCenter, where Josef Martinez, controls the pass in the box off his chest. He's able to find Messi in the box. Messi volleys it home. And I think for a moment in time, Leo Campana kind of became an afterthought. And then he's had his bouts in the starting 11 as well after that. And despite him missing a golden opportunity to win the League's Cup final. He made up for it by converting the penalty kick. So he's had his opportunities as well, but I think the chip on his shoulder comes from there too, right? Where he was now allowed to be the playmaker, the goal scorer that Inter Miami was looking to when Messi and Josef Martinez, and you mentioned Kremaski as well, some of these other guys who've had that responsibility over the past month or so were absent because of international duty. It was almost like he felt that responsibility, that weight on his shoulders to have to go out and produce, and he answered the call in a major way. So, kudos to him. He certainly deserves to be on the Week 11 team. But I'm struggling. I see Socio saying other teams have to drop points. My guy, a little cutesy there with the comment, but I understand that. But there isn't a team. I'm looking at the standings right now. I have it in front of me. I mean, you could argue Cincy, New England, and Orlando and Philly, right? The top four, but there isn't a team that I see from 5 to 9, and then even going down 10, 11, 12, that I'm confident over the next 8, 7, or 6 games that they have remaining on their schedule are going to be consistently winning the way Inter Miami is. Right. And, if they were still 10 points back of the playoff line, I would agree with everybody. I mean, that is asking a lot. I mean, you're essentially asking for everybody ahead of you to drop points consistently. I don't think that has to happen. I think Inter Miami continues on this trajectory. I don't expect them to go undefeated, by the way. I think that loss is going to come at some point. But once they're in the playoffs, or if they have the opportunity to be in that playing game to get into the playoffs, I mean, come on, bro. Like they're not going to lose one of those games. So I just don't see it. I see them at least getting an opportunity to get into the playoffs, and this quote unquote insurmountable deficit that they were in terms of points in the standings, I think they're going to overcome it.
I mean, I completely agree with you. I've said it from day one. I mean, we had a poll in our group chat here. Is Inter Miami going to make the playoffs? And I voted yes from day one. You can ask Jonah. He was the one that posted the poll in there. I still think they're going to make it. But I guess maybe I'm used to it being a Uruguayan and having a calculator all the time and always thinking, oh, we got to win here, and that guy, that guy has to lose, and this. So I guess I'm just kind of used to it. I'm used to living with the pressure. I guess I don't know. It is what it is. But you mentioned, and I want to get into this. This is a little bit away from Inter Miami and the playoffs, but you mentioned the New England Revolution. I don't know if you've seen any of the things that have come out about the New England Revolution, but they are in second place. They have been one of the better teams in MLS this year. Bruce Arena, their coach, has been I would say an absolute legend as far as US soccer coaches. And it's sad to see whatever's happening happen over there. I'm not 100% sure exactly, but I know that this guy Richie Williams is kind of like a snake or whatever. So I kind of tweeted that he was like Nate, the guy from Ted Lasso. And yeah. But I don't know if you saw it today. I guess they fired him, or they didn't fire him, but they replaced him with a new interim coach, and they fired 2 assistant coaches. So Shauri Joseph, a former MLS player, was fired, and somebody else was fired. And they kept this Richie guy as like an unspecified role. I mean, that has to be absolute like insanity. Like what's going on there is just, it's crazy. No, just to go on like towards the end of the season.
Yeah, I mean, it is crazy, and I think you have to at least consider the fact that as well as New England's played, as consistent as they've been throughout the regular season, that matters, right? Going into a stretch here where they're at least fighting for home field advantage towards the beginning of the playoffs, because if they end up having to face Cincinnati, I mean, there's no way they're catching them. So I don't know exactly what transpired there. So I don't really want to comment on it, because I know it's definitely a very serious subject. But I mean, that's something you look at as well, right? Where you're if anything, if you're into Miami, you're kind of hoping that the New Englands and the Cincinnatis just keep winning. So that may affect the playoff race negatively. I don't know who they play, but as far as one of the top teams, if Inter did have to go in and they somehow were able to get into the playoffs and had to play New England early on, that may be something that gives you a little bit extra hope that they're just going to be a little out of sorts going into a playoff game with all the drama kind of surrounding their organization.
Yes and no. Yes, it could be a positive in that sense, but you'd have to go play in the New England turf, which we all know is is famous for torn ACLs and especially after yesterday's injury to, or sorry, a couple of days ago's injury to Aaron Rodgers, his Achilles, and now big news, the NFLPA has said that they basically want all the NFL stadiums to change from turf to grass, and I think that's huge. I think that's absolutely huge. I think the MLS should also do the same. I think that's going to end up happening.
I don't.
You don't?
At least not in the near future. I don't, because the NFL has been adamant, not just the NFL, but all these major sports leagues that do use synthetic turfs and synthetic grasses have been adamant that there is no scientific evidence to back the fact that turf is a reason why these injuries are happening. So I don't agree. I think turf is whack. You know how I feel about that from our days at Kendall Soccer Park. And I think the idea that, speaking of, since we're on a football podcast, the idea that people play on synthetic turf, especially soccer players, with actual cleats and not the studs made purposely to play on that type of surface, I think you're out of your mind. Like, you're asking for an ACL tear, which I've undergone. So, but I don't know if Messi's going to end up playing against Atlanta on Saturday. I don't know if you touched on this or not. I know what his comments were, that he grew up in Las Inferiores in his youth career playing on that surface.
In La Masia, right?
Right. And if he needs to kind of get accustomed to it again, then he's all for it. I mean, it's easy to say that, right? When you're asked about it a month ago, and then now you're faced with this decision. You've played a record number of matches over the past half decade of his career now, on one playing surface. You were just in South America, and now you have to come back here against Atlanta United of all teams and go and play on this surface, which you're not used to and you haven't been practicing on. I find it very interesting. Very interesting to see.
You don't know that. You don't know that he hasn't been practicing on it, because Inter Miami does have some synthetic turf fields, practice fields. So maybe they have done some practice. So we don't know that from the pictures that we've seen and the videos that we've seen. Yeah, they've done most of their practices on the grass fields. Now, I'm going to give you my take. You tell me what you think. So I think him coming off of the game, obviously he's played a lot of games over the last, 6 weeks. Him coming off of the game against Ecuador, he obviously motioned to Scaloni that he needed to come off. He was fatigued. I always said he was never going to play in Bolivia. I think the only way he played in Bolivia was if they lose to Ecuador. So he was never going to play in Bolivia. I think what ends up happening is Tata Martino goes with a much similar starting 11 than he did, similar to last Saturday, maybe including, a Robbie Taylor instead of a Robbie Robinson, maybe including a Ben Kakremashi, instead of, somebody else there in the midfield. But you don't start Messi. You let Farias be the engine of the team. And if you get a couple goals, you just sit Messi the rest of the game. Now, I said that sucks for the people who go and pay. I will tell you, tickets are a lot cheaper in Atlanta than they are here. It's probably cheaper to fly to Atlanta if you live in Miami and go to the game this weekend than it would be to go watch a game in Miami at Dry Pig Stadium. I'll tell you that. Now, if it's a close game, I think Messi plays the last 35 minutes. That's what I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think they've made it pretty clear, like they're trying to make the playoffs, and not just because that's what they have to say. I'm talking about from what we've seen, right? The eye test. The last time I was on with you, I think it was right before the final, the Leagues Cup final, or somewhere in that timeline, and I told you that Messi comes on in his debut match. He does what we all expected him to, that moment of brilliance, scores the free kick, whatever. But what shocked me more than anything was watching him play Orlando City, and he's going up against Araujo, and he's playing with, as we would say, puro huevo. Like, he's going in for those challenges as hard as he would in a World Cup match, and he kind of set that standard. And I think after that, it was, it all kind of everybody else from the team saw that display. To me, that was the game changing moment for Inter Miami, not just in that game, but really for what they're set out to accomplish here. It's not just, hey, we're going to go around this MLS tour, we're going to make a bunch of money for Messi, people are going to cheer for us, there's going to be a bunch of albiceleste jerseys in the crowd, and it's going to be fun, and they're going to get to be superstars for the next couple months. No, I think they're setting out to make the playoffs. And I think it's clear, again, not just from what they're saying, but from the way that they've approached all these games. So yeah, man, like if they're in that situation where Messi needs to continue to play because it's what's best for the team, I don't think that he's going to look over at Tata Martino and say, hey, I'm done here. Like, this is stupid. Take me out.
Right.
If it's a 0-0 game, 1-1, they're down 2-1. They've shown time and time again that they can rebound from what seems like impossible situations, down 4-2, and they end up coming back. He's going to play. The question becomes, does he want to play on synthetic turf? But I don't see a situation where he starts the game and then he's done playing 70 minutes in because it's on synthetic turf. Like, if he makes that decision to play, he'll
play the full 90.
Right.
He'll play until he can't. Right. Or until something happens. But
yeah, needed.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. And we're going to see as tomorrow comes and Friday comes and the practices go and how he feels. And, we're going to find out if he does end up playing. I think, like you said, if he starts, I think he'll play the full 90 or at least as close to, as he can. And if he comes off the bench, it'll probably be as a need basis. Again, I don't think synthetic turf is going to play, a role. Why? You see what kind of captain Messi is. They won the League's Cup. Inter Miami won the League's Cup. He gives the captain's band to DeAndre Yedlin. Messi's not going to play in Bolivia. I know they made that decision ahead of time, even though they won't admit it. And he still travels with his team, even though yesterday was his son's birthday, because that's the type of captain he has shown that he's going to be. And that's why I think that if he needs to play in these games, he's going to play. He's not going to let his team down. And that's why I agree with you. If he has to play, he's going to play. He's not going to care turf, no turf, grass, whatever, who it's against, whatever. He's going to play. For the sake of the fans in Atlanta, I hope he plays and he starts. But if he doesn't, I at least hope he gets at least 30 to 35 minutes.
Yeah, I don't care about the fans. I'm so sick of this where, he's not going to play, ridiculous. Listen, bro, you're paying a lot of money to go watch these guys, and you know what the situation is, right? And we saw today the NBA implemented some new rules to ensure, the sanctity of the game is upheld so that the superstars and the stars continue to play. Guess what? The MLS doesn't have that rule in place. So and there's no need to. So if Messi decides he only wants to play the last 35 minutes, he's the greatest player of all time. Sorry, that's just the way it's going to be. Hey, feel honored that you're even in the building with the dude at the exact same time. But if anything, turf, in my opinion, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, you've watched a lot more of these matches than I have. I'm just, a bandwagoner that really started to watch all of these Inter Miami games as in-depthly as I am since Messi joined. And I have no problem admitting it. I think turf may actually help their style of play, right? It may contribute to the style that they want to play, where they are trying to play more attacking. They are trying to play at a quicker pace. They are trying to touch the ball a little bit more than their opponents, certainly hold possession as well. That could benefit Inter Miami and Tata Martino's playing style.
Yeah, I mean, it could, but then again, on the turf, the ball can bounce either way. It moves a little faster. Remember, Messi, Busquets, Alba are a little slower, and I would say our defense isn't maybe Inter Miami's defense is not, let's say, the best for a attacking front who is very fast, and we saw that against a fast attacking front in Nashville.
Yeah,
Correct. Correct.
and a midfield and an attacking unit that takes risks, right? Where you're gonna see Busquets go up, you're gonna see Ruiz go up, you might even see Christoph go up or whatever, and that does
Right.
leave your backline vulnerable. It's true.
Correct. Correct. So I mean, the turf could play positive role, but I don't know. I think it might be more of a negative in this case than maybe in other cases. But we'll see again on Saturday. All right, I want to pivot a little bit because I know we've talked a lot about Inter Miami, a lot about Messi, but there's still a little bit more Messi, that we can talk about that doesn't have to do with Inter Miami, and that's about the World Cup qualifiers that took place this past weekend. There was a lot of games that went on, some surprises, some not surprises. I'm going to throw up the table up there and we can talk a little about maybe some surprises. So Brazil, Argentina are sitting atop the table, both with 6 points. Colombia with 4. Uruguay tied with Venezuela there in 4th place with 3 points. Paraguay, Peru, Chile are tied with 1. And then Ecuador and Bolivia with 0. Of course, it's, you got to remember Ecuador started with -3. So, in my house, it was like a civil war last night because my wife is from Ecuador. I'm from Uruguay. I celebrated the Uruguay goal, and then I was like, fuck, Ecuador scored. And then I was like, fuck, Ecuador scored again. And it is what it is. Let's talk a little bit about the other games. Colombia, picking up a home win against Venezuela. Yeah, against Venezuela, and then tying away against Chile. I don't know if you saw, but Arturo Vidal seems to have torn his meniscus. He's going to have meniscus surgery.
Yeah, I did see that. First of all, the goal Colombia scored against Venezuela was, I know everybody's going to say the Messi free kick was the goal that stood out from certainly at least the first feature of the qualifiers. But bro, the goal that Colombia scored was an absolute golazo. I was shocked that they weren't able to go into Chile and win. I mean, you and I watched Chile in Uruguay in that first game, and bro, Chile just they didn't look good at all. And I know it's the first game. You can't put too much stock in it because if you would have asked me, is Uruguay going to beat Ecuador? I would have told you there's absolutely no chance Uruguay goes into Ecuador and loses just based on the performance we saw. And then we all know what ends up happening. So it's much different to play in the opposing team's country. It's a totally different animal. I get all that. With that being said, Chile just looked so uninspiring to me that I was shocked that Colombia couldn't go and at least steal some points over there other than getting the 1 point. But yeah, I mean, Argentina, Brazil, they're going to be 1 and 2. I don't see a situation where they're not. I genuinely don't see a situation where they're not. So there's no surprises there. The question is going to become, who's going to take that 3rd, 4th, and 5th spot. And I know more teams qualify now. So I realize that.
6th spot. So
right. No, I realize that. But to me, Colombia, Uruguay, they're good. Like they're gonna make it. They're gonna be from 3 to 6.
Right.
Quote me or somebody clip this if you want. And if Uruguay doesn't make the World Cup in 2026, I probably won't be around anymore. I may have to just go totally off social media, so you won't find me. But I think Colombia, they're gonna figure out a way to win at home. They're gonna figure out a way to grind out performances because there's enough quality there, and that's typically what they do. I think the same goes for Uruguay. I'm a little confused with what Bielsa did in that second match, and I'm a little confused as to how they could play so poorly after really quality performance in the first game. But
I'll tell you, man, it's called 6 miles worth of altitude. 6 miles worth. It's not easy, and I was, I had these discussions with some folks over social media today. And look, I know you said after watching the Chile game that you had no doubts, but I didn't expect Uruguay to go in and win in Ecuador. I expected them to compete, but based on the last qualifier, where if you remember, Ecuador completely annihilated us. It was like 4-1, and then they got a last minute penalty. I think that Suarez scored. But I have a lot of respect for Ecuador as an opponent And I also have a lot of respect for Colombia as an opponent because of this of where you have to play. Playing in Ecuador at 4 o'clock in the afternoon in that altitude is not easy. Playing against Colombia in Barranquilla in that heat is not easy. It's just not easy. And a lot of folks, especially a lot of folks in the states that watch a lot of USA and Mexico and a lot of the CONCACAF don't understand that, especially some of the Euro snobs, and I kind of think of myself maybe as a Euro snob a little bit, but you know, you just don't understand how hard it is to play there. It's not the same as like playing in Cyprus or playing in away in San Marino or playing away. Maybe it is similar to playing away in El Salvador or Costa Rica. We've been to Costa Rica. It's a hot and testy environment. They threw piss at us. So, but so I mean, yeah, it's just not easy to go away in CONMEBOL and win. So if you can tie like Colombia did, I think that's a positive. And if Uruguay would have tied, and I think they should have, because that to me that was a penalty, that last play of the game. But it is what it is. I think a tie would have been okay. Alvaro here is saying, he thinks it's going to be Argentina, Brazil, Colombia, Uruguay, Ecuador, and Chile to the repechaje. Look, I can't deny that. I don't think Chile is going to make it. I think, and this is going to be a crazy ass prediction, but I think Venezuela goes to the repechaje.
Wow. No love for Peru from anybody, huh? Dude,
I guess not, man.
What else does Peru kind of have to prove to everybody that they're?
I don't know, man. They have the best ceviche in the world. They have the best ceviche in the world, but they don't have anything else to prove.
Besides their cuisine, I mean, every year or every qualifiers now, going back to 2010, maybe not 2010, but 2014, 2018, and then for Qatar as well. Like Peru has been a legitimate pain in the ass. I'll put it, but I say that respectfully. That's not an easy place to go play, and you saw Brazil did to Bolivia. There's no surprise there. Bolivia has no chance. But let's be real. I mean, Peru always plays very organized in the back. They're not easy to score on, and I don't know. I feel like they deserve a little respect here from the chat.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, but Alvaro brings up a good point. I mean, you have Paolo Guerrero, who's in his late 30s as your starting forward. You've got Luis Advíncula, who's again in his 30s. Now he's playing in Boca, not playing at his highest level as one of your starters. They do have a much older team. Maybe they're like the Uruguay of the last maybe qualifying stage in terms of the age. So yeah, I think they could cause some people trouble. And hey, it could be between Peru, Venezuela, Paraguay, even Ecuador, Uruguay for that, 6, 7, 5, 6, 7 spot. It could be. You don't know. There's still, 16 games left. But I just think Peru's old and they're stuck in that same kind of space that Chile is stuck in right now. Chile is just stuck in mud and they just cannot get out, man. They switch a coach, they still have Alexis Sanchez coming, Charlie Saranguis. They just need to switch it up. That's just what I think they need.
Venezuela has never been to a World Cup, right?
Never.
That'd be cool. A little vino tinto action. At least getting in the repechaje. That'd be pretty cool, bro. I feel like other than Bolivia not making it, it's just a guaranteed. And then Argentina and Brazil being 1A, 1B, however it is you want to list them at 1 and 2. It really is. It's great. Like you don't know. You don't know. As much as I want to be an Uruguay homer, you have no effing idea. You really don't.
No, you don't. You really don't. And you saw it because Uruguay, the way they played the first game was fantastic. Second game was not. And then you had other teams as well, like Paraguay played Peru and they tied at home while playing a man up. And then they go over to Venezuela and then lose, to a penalty in the 90-something minute, which was a surprise. And so, they're, only have 1 point. And you have to look at that and you have to think, they probably should have came away with 4 points there, or at least definitely 2. And so you have these type of situations where, it kind of leaves space for, maybe a Uruguay to make a mistake later, or maybe a Colombia to, not get some points later or whatever. And that's kind of, what teams like Colombia, Uruguay, Ecuador, have to hope for. Some of these other teams that are not expected to drop points to teams like Venezuela to drop those points. So, I mean, I think it's going to be one of the more exciting eliminatorias that we've had in recent times, just because there's more spots available. And man, the talent gap is really closing up. I remember it was very hard for Argentina to win in Bolivia, and now, damn man, Argentina just went up there and just whooped their ass.
Yeah.
So I mean, other than that, and Alvaro said right there, and we played with him. I played against him and with him. Ale Melian, shout out. He was capped by Bolivia. Kendall native, played at KSP. But yeah, bro, they're gonna finish probably dead last.
Yeah, it's a given. That's just that's a given. Brazil, absolutely. Argentina, 1 and 2, and then Bolivia. I wish it didn't have to be that way, but nope, no chance.
That's what I think. I mean, but all we know is Uruguay is definitely gonna make it, right? Uruguay is definitely gonna make it.
They better. I mean.
Well, all right. So we always finish off the episode by giving our predictions on Inter Miami's weekend matchup. So I'm gonna put you on the spot, little bro, and I'm gonna ask you: Inter Miami, Atlanta United. Give me your prediction.
Yeah, I have Inter Miami winning. I mean, everything I've said thus far. It would be silly for me to say otherwise. I know Inter Miami's played like double the amount of matches as Atlanta United has, going back to when the Leagues Cup started. But, we saw these teams play already once, and we all know how it transpired. And
4-0.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't see how Atlanta United. I mean, they're obviously going to try different tactics. They're going to try to keep, if Messi does play, if Messi does start, they're going to try to do everything they possibly can to keep him from doing what he does, obviously. But yeah, I just think Inter Miami is in form right now. They proved it the other day when they were without Leo Messi that they can survive without him. And if he doesn't play, then we're probably having a different conversation, because for them to do that twice and now against another mediocre quality opponent. I don't want to call them bad, but they're also not, they're not winning the cup this year. It would be difficult to overcome that challenge again of not having Leo Messi. But even if he gives you, the last 30 minutes, they're probably going to find the back of the net with him in there. They just have so many different ways to score now, and they've proven that they can get on the board in a hurry. So I have Inter Miami 100%, 3-1.
3-1. Nice. I like that. I also have Inter Miami, but I only have it at 2-1. I think it's going to be a tough game. It's an away game. I echo that. I think Messi will come on in the second half, and he will make a difference in the second half. But again, a tough away game. It's not easy to go play in the Mercedes-Benz Dome. I've been there for a game. We both. You didn't go with me, but I went there, with our cousin Tony, and it's not easy to play there. They're a very, very loud fan base. Shout out to having Chick-fil-A at the stadium, man. That was badass, though.
That's a game changer.
That is a huge game changer. Not only that, but you buy one soda and you get free refills all game.
Bro, that's a game changer at their stadium, actually. Props to Atlanta United. I kind of been sliding them a little, but the Mercedes-Benz Stadium, the food there, like chicken fingers are $3.50. A large soda is $1.50. Like, the food there is what every damn stadium should be charging at concession stands. And they've set the damn standard. So they deserve a little bit more respect.
Absolutely. And before we go, one of our close followers here wants a Lillard prediction from you. I know this is an Inter Miami show, or really this is a soccer show and all that, but seeing as you have a bunch of Heat posters in your background there and a NBA TV logo there behind you, how about one Lillard prediction for the followers?
You can't see it. I have Zoe here to my left, D Wade behind me, but over there on the other side of the wall has a mural of Socio. Actually, you can't see it. I'll try to put it behind me another day.
Damn, yeah, that would
Yeah,
be huge.
Steven, bro, the last time I was on a podcast and somebody asked me to give a Damian Lillard prediction, I said by the end of the week, Damian Lillard will be in Miami. And here we are 2 months later, and I look like a total effing idiot for saying that. So
hey, hold on.
I'm not going to give you.
That's a Solana special. We seem to do that a lot, huh?
Yeah. I'm not going to give you a prediction. I still ultimately think it gets done. We saw the report from Shams that essentially he expects prior to training camp, which, by the way, bro, think about for our South Florida fans. I know TIFF is a worldwide pod, right? But for the South Florida natives who are down here in Miami or the South Florida area, think about this. Dolphins just effing balled in LA. The Marlins are in a wild card race. Inter Miami is in a playoff race. You have those three things happening. The Miami Hurricanes might be undefeated going into week 5 or week 6 or whatever when they play Clemson. Like, things are looking really good for them after a big win. And then you have Panthers, who are in the Stanley Cup Finals. They start playing preseason games in like 10 days.
I know.
Heat training camp is in 3 weeks. Think of all the shit that's going to go down in mid-October. Inter Miami.
I have something special for Heat training camp. We have I have a personal big special announcement coming in a couple weeks on that.
Oh, all right. But all that stuff is going to go down. That's why I'm hoping Inter Miami can pull this off, because October is going to be fun as hell. But I see you're saying my own personal opinion. Yeah, I think it gets done. I think ultimately, as I was saying, Shams Charania said that prior to training camp, which is, 3 weeks away, that Portland and Miami are going to be able to somehow sit down and start to hammer this deal out. I think it's dumb for Portland to just go into the season with a disgruntled Lillard who doesn't want to be there. They already drafted his replacement. They drafted the guy that they essentially chose over him in Scoot. So I think it gets done. I think, Cronin, who's their GM, is trying to play hardball. He's trying to make it look like he's not the guy that's going to trade their franchise's best or second best player of all time. He doesn't want to go down as that guy, and he wants to do everything he can to prolong the process. So it looks like he got everything out of the deal that he possibly could. But ultimately, they're going to take, one of these young guys, a couple first-round picks, and they're going to like it. And the Miami Heat are going to put Jimmy Butler, Damian Lillard, and Bam Adebayo on the floor at the exact. I think it happens. I really do. Hopefully, I'm not wrong, because that shit would be fun, man. It really would.
Absolutely. And Stevie, I know you didn't ask me, but my opinion, Dame Lillard is in a Heat uniform by opening night. That is my opinion. And my other opinion, Inter Miami wins the treble.